All right, cool. We're going. Yay.
Cool.
All right, word. Well, hey, just want to say thanks for helping me out when I needed you with the merch thing.
Yeah, no problem, man.
That appreciate that. Yeah. So you got me. What do you want to know?
Uh, I guess I've just learned a lot from you from like you teaching other people and stuff. So I guess I saw more value in just kind of picking your brain. I guess on like a mental level. Hello?
Yeah, yeah. I'm still here. Okay.
Okay.
Just waiting for a question.
Oh, sorry, your camera went away.
It's automatically cuts when people talk. It's like having a
Oh.
video editor there, but a robot.
I guess my biggest issue is like juggling so many different things that I want to do. And a big thing that I've just have not been able to start is just like doing like having some sort of presence on YouTube and creating something with that. And at the same time, learning production, producing music, being a full-time DJ, and like I just can't like I can't seem to like be able to juggle everything. And everyone says like just focus on one thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to juggle. I mean, why do you need YouTube? Like, do you like? Is that like what's your vision for the project? What's your end vision?
I want to have like it's just something like I don't want to like I'm not doing it for like subscribers. I'm not doing it for like people to watch me. I just want to have something that I'm doing that to me is like I'm progressing. So I feel like I'm just in a spot where I don't feel like I am because I want to do so much. And the idea that I desire to have to do this thing, if I don't do it, I feel like I'm gonna regret it. And that's what's
Okay,
like
well, just like let's say there's no limitations. You have an unlimited amount of time and resources and luck, and you're like, whatever, like 5 years from now, just check marks across the board. Paint me a picture of what the vision looks like.
okay. So I have a consistent schedule uploading content. Um, I'm creating music every day. Um, I'm helping people, teaching people. Um, I'm incorporating the things that I love within my art. So like I really enjoy like retro nostalgia type stuff, and I really want to incorporate that with my music. I guess like the reason I got started with music is just because I just love music, and I like if it hits one person, that's great. Like I've played shows and it's a lot of fun for sure. But like I don't like my 5 year goal. It's not like I want to be at EDC or I want to be at a big show. Um, I just want to have I just want to have a consistent schedule and a structure to where I wake up every day and I love my process, and that's it. I just love, and I'm not there. So
Okay, well, that's a pretty achievable goal. I mean, you could achieve that in like next week, you know? Like
yeah.
I think you're gonna have to dream a little bigger here. Like paint me a picture like what like I'm giving you permission to be unrealistic here. Like
Okay.
like fucking wildest dreams. What does it look like?
Um, I'm living in the mountains. I don't have to worry about money. I can just be at home, just creating art. Like I don't know. It sounds so lame, but like
Why does it sound lame?
I don't know. I never really like had big like crazy like out of this world like dreams of like being in certain places or um
Dreams are important, man. It's important to be like kind of unrealistic sometimes. And I gotta say, like, one of the biggest kind of things that held me back from progressing faster was I was not really being like I was always trying to be very realistic with my dreams. And I think if I had known then that I would totally be able to support myself as a musician, and that I would be able to come live in the States, and that people would support my music and I would have fans and all this stuff. I think I would have been able to take bigger steps sooner if I had given myself permission in my own mind to be a bit more unrealistic. You know, I mean, these kind of hangups like, oh, who am I to want these things? And, you know, is this cliche, etc. Those are just limiting beliefs. Like those things are just, they're just holding you back from really connecting to your vision. And I think it's really like, it's important to just let all of that go and just really think like, okay, like what is the life that you want to live? You know, and a lot of the time too, you know, things that seem unrealistic become a lot more realistic when you're out there and you're actually like problem solving and figuring it out. You know, like
Mhm.
things can become way more realistic than you think at first. And if you're saying no before you even try, well then of course, you know, like that's the great irony of pessimism, you know, is the pessimist is always right. You know, if you say you can't, you're right, you can't, you know.
Mm.
So you know, don't like, there's nothing cheesy about wanting to be an artist, you know? There's nothing like, I mean, yeah, it feels that way sometimes, but it's like there's not a problem with that, man. Like there's not a problem with that. So okay, so you're living in the mountains, you're not concerned with money, you're making art every day. Continue.
Um, I mean, I think of like stuff that I could like. I don't know. I'm not. It's just, this is hard for me because like I don't have like stuff I really want to buy. I mean, when I
That's
have money, it's just like I like little tchotchkes. Like I collect Nintendo 64 apparel. Like I'm very specific on like
that's
specific things
I
that
like,
I like that I
yeah,
just
that's cool.
that I find, and that's stuff I like to buy. But if I had like all the money in the world and I just didn't have to worry, I know I think about what I would do every day, and it would just be the stuff I'm already doing, aside from the things that I do to just have an income. So like I spend a lot of time I buy and sell on eBay, when I don't have gigs, and I do like corporate DJ stuff right now. So I'm doing like private events, weddings, and shit like that. And I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like it. Because the initial thing was just I wanted to make music, and this has kind of helped to supplement that because I don't work as many hours as just doing like a full-time job somewhere else. But I do feel like I'm spending so much time on that, and it takes so much of my energy because I'm so obsessed with like making sure it goes so well for the couples that I have individually. Because
Yeah, that's important, man. Like if something's worth doing, it's worth doing right, you know?
yeah, so I'm like really obsessed with it, and I put a lot of my energy into it, probably more than I even have to. But I do feel like it gets in the way of what I truly love to do, and it's just I don't know.
Okay, so I didn't hear YouTube anywhere. Why are you stressed out about YouTube?
I want to have like I just want to have like a documentation of something to look back on of like the stuff that I'm doing right now. So like for example, if I'm producing for 10 years, I want to have that whole I want to have like a legacy of like that's everything that I did, and it's on the record of like this is all the work that it took for me to be where I'm at right now, kind of a
Well,
deal.
I mean, so what so tell me about your YouTube channel. Like what's on your YouTube channel?
I don't make videos.
Okay. Well, so would you be like streaming yourself producing? Would you be making music videos? Would you be making tutorials based on your tracks? Like what does your YouTube look like?
I mean, I want to incorporate all these games that I love. So like it's specifically a Nintendo 64 that I am so attached to on an emotional level because it just reminds me of my childhood so much. And
Yeah, it's a hell of a system, man. Like I played a whole lot of Goldeneye
yeah,
when I was younger.
yeah, just shit like that. I don't know what it is, but
We even threw a party called Kill Count 5 where we had multiplayer Goldeneye in the back at the back room at the party. That was
it's
really good.
fucking wild, man. There's
Yeah.
just nothing like it. Like there's no games that, in my opinion, can ever bring as much joy as those did. So there's just a part of me that wants to convey that emotion that I feel from those games into my music somehow.
I
And I
mean,
just want to,
a lot of gamers who listen to electronic music, man. Like there's a lot, you know. That's probably I mean, I'd say gamers probably listen to electronic music more than any other genre. So there's definitely a lot of crossover there.
So yeah, I just specifically want to know how to go about incorporating my love for games and music, and have a YouTube channel that's centered on that.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about your music itself.
Hmm.
How's that going?
It's not going well. Definitely isn't going well, and that's the
Okay,
honest
what,
truth.
what's frustrating you about it?
I don't have a direction. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just
Well, I mean, it seems like you have like, I mean, if you, why not just start with the Nintendo 64 thing? I mean, why not, make a free EP that's like based on games, like do, 4 games and make like a free EP where it's like, here's this game, here's a song, chop up some screenshots of the video game to make a video. Excuse me.
bless you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a little sniffly. Fucking November, man.
You're good.
But yeah,
Um,
why not do like a 4 game EP?
I don't know. I don't know how to go about that or how to incorporate the video too, or just like the process of like, okay, this is what I have to do because when
Well,
I'm
you start with the tracks, and then probably, I mean, if it needs to be your gameplay, then you work on getting a screen capture system.
well, I have that already.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I'd say just like Google the game. There's probably excuse me. There's probably someone that has cut all the good samples out of the game already for you, so you don't have to do that editing. And then get those samples into some drum racks and samplers, and just start making a track around them. But I mean, because like in the workflow that I really teach people, I find it's like a really good idea to start with the face of the track. To start with, okay, this is a track. It's about this. I'm gonna work with like this lyric or this concept or whatever. And for you, if you're doing these Nintendo 64 remixes, you know, you just start with the samples from the game and have each track be about that particular game, and that would then okay, this track is going to be Donkey Kong, and this track's going to be, GoldenEye, and this track's going to be like, Mario 64 or whatever, whatever games you choose. Then get all the samples, put them together in a track, make like probably more than you need, and then pick the best 4. Go download some gameplay videos or capture your own gameplay videos, um, chop it up, and then put them up on YouTube and SoundCloud. You probably don't want to get. You're probably not going to get takedown notices. YouTube, maybe you might. Vimeo, you won't. And then you could have this like a 4-track Nintendo 64 EP, and I'm sure a lot of like gamers out there would be into that. And you'd have good SEO for a thing that people are already like obsessed with. So I don't know. I mean, it seems to me like you have a direction already.
Yeah, I guess it's just like, what's the process? What does it look like when I'm so I guess I get too over analytical when I'm like so disorganized. I don't get anything done, and I really need structure. So
Okay,
um,
well, have you watched the workflow workshop?
yeah,
Because in that workshop, there's a pretty clear structure for how to proceed, especially if you're starting with like a face already with the
hmm,
samples. Um, there's one thing that I really like. Hang on just a second.
yeah,
Got a friend coming over. Okay, there's one thing that I really like doing, and that is using this Seconds Pro app for my phone to do timed workflow drills. And basically, this is like a training app for athletes. And there's this one workflow that I really like that I recommend doing 10-minute intervals. Okay, so you're in Ableton, right?
yeah,
Okay, so yeah, so basically you'd get this app and you'd plug in these 6 stages. I recommend starting with 10-minute stages. Okay. So the first stage is chop samples onto drum rack pads. And I'm talking just about the face, just the face of the track, whatever those, whatever those like, whatever the face sample is, whatever the,
Okay.
so you get the face. So like, it might be like, let's say you're doing Mario, it might be the like, most characteristic two things that he says, like when he says, "It's a me,"
Yeah.
and then, maybe like the music when you get the star and you're like Super fucking Mario, so maybe it's
Okay.
these samples, right? But you get your samples that you feel are the most core samples, and then you break them up onto the drum rack pads. Okay, so step one is take the samples and break them onto 16 pads in the drum rack, and you want to make little families of 4 samples, like in a horizontal row. So you might take the "It's a Me" and have the first sample be "It's," the second one be "Ah," the third one be "Me," and the fourth one be "Mario." And then you could make edits from that, like if those are 4 in a row, you could be like, "It's me, it's that could be a pattern, right?
Okay.
Or you could have it be, "It's a me, Mario, oh 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 like make it like a little scratch. So you make a little, so usually, and you make 4 of these rows of 4, and these 4 rows of 4 are going to kind of become the basis for you jamming with the samples and transforming them in the next step. Okay, so the first step is take your 4. Actually, you know what? I have a YouTube video here that I made of me doing this exercise. That is a secret YouTube video that is not out in the dojo yet. Actually, you know what? I have a. Whoa, hey, there's me live. Okay, so let's go here. And then I'll send you the secret video of me doing this exercise. But normally when people come over for training, this is basically like, what I'll have them create a palette and do this kind of exercise. But you have now, because did you go into the dojo like yesterday or whatever?
Mhm.
Did you get the new studio template?
Mhm.
Yeah. So that is basically
That's a great sound.
that is a palette. And then here's a video of me doing this exercise. Okay, so you can watch this video for reference. I pasted it in the chat.
Okay.
Copy it out of the chat and put it into your notes. Okay.
Okay.
So watching this will give you like a very clear structure. And basically you need to get good at doing this exercise. This exercise, like I've kind of refined this exercise over a while. This is the best 6-step exercise I can come up with. Okay. So the first step is chop the samples onto the drum rack pads. The second one is make 4 4-bar sequences with just those samples. No beats, no bass, nothing. You're just making 4 different 4-bar patterns with these chops in the samples, right? So usually you get 2 patterns for free. Okay. The first pattern is the sample straight up as you sampled it. So let's say you're sampling a record. The first pattern would be like whatever that 2 bars is that you sampled, just looped.
Mhm.
The second pattern is some kind of buildup, right? Usually this means repeating the sample, one of the samples again and again and again. Maybe it's a little polyrhythm like pop, 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 right? Or maybe it's just like with a pitch bend, some kind of a buildup, right? Then you only really need to come up with 2 patterns that are entirely new, right? And you want these to be like dance grooves, right? But there's no beats and there's no bass yet. You're just chopping up the face, chopping up the main sample to make those 4 patterns, okay? So you make 4 sequences. So the first part of the exercise is chop the samples. Second part of the exercise is make 4 sequences. Then phase 3 is add drums and sub bass. Okay, and a lot of the time your straight up version of the sample doesn't need anything else. A lot of the time your build up doesn't need anything else. But those 2 dance grooves, they're going to need beats and bass.
Okay.
But it's just subs. You're not adding mid basses yet, just subs. Okay. Then the 4th phase is find a new melody. You want to have some kind of a melody that goes with one or maybe more of the sections, right? That is not part of the original sample, right? So it's got to be some kind of a new melody. But keep in mind, these can be really fucking simple. It could just be beep 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 beep. You know, that could be a melody. You don't have to have more than one note. It could just be beeps. You know, it just has to be some kind of a riff that's not part of the original sample.
Okay.
Okay. Then the next section, this is the fifth one, is make a drop or drops. Okay. So in this section, you're going to want to make some kind of a dance groove that's really dope. Sometimes, like let's say your sample that you're using is It's a Me Mario. Sometimes it might be a little bit annoying if it's going, it's a me, it's a me, you know, again and again and again. That might get a little annoying for a drop, right? So maybe you got to get rid of the original sample entirely and make a drop with something else. Maybe it's a new section. Maybe you're going over one of your dance grooves. Who knows? But you're making some kind of a drop in this fifth stage. And then the final stage is arrange and automate. And in this stage, you're going to basically take everything into the arrangement view if you're not there already, and just kind of like try and figure out like, okay, do I have to ditch any of these sections? A lot of time, some of the ideas are crap. You don't want to necessarily include them if they suck. So maybe you got to ditch a couple of sections. Or maybe you got lucky and you have enough to make like a 3-minute track. Who knows? Usually I aim for about 1.5 minutes with these exercises. You know, I'm not trying to write a whole fucking long song. You know, like these are just, you're just getting used to sequencing fast. You're getting used to the workflow. You're getting used to like making a drop, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And then you see what you got. And that exercise is like an hour. You know, I do them in like 5-minute intervals because my palate's pretty dialed, you know. But if you do that lots of times, you'll get really good really fast because you're basically you're learning what I call top level sequencing. All right. So picture your track as a pyramid. Okay. And there's lots of different sounds that need to be in the track, but they're not all equally important. Right. There's certain sounds that kind of have to be in there or you don't have a track, like kicks and snares and sub bass. You know, it's kind of like it'd be really challenging to write a dance track without kick snares and sub bass. But some of the other, and then all the other sounds, they're basically, you know, in ascending order of importance. So all those little like lasers and turnarounds and risers and shit, they're kind of down near the bottom, you know. They're not really, you don't really remember those sounds. They're just there to be more of like a feeling, to really kind of make sure that the track feels complete and feels like you know, just it feels like it's finished. It has like, you know, it's energy and levels, and it's like taking you on a journey and shit, you know. So you need to have risers and little turnarounds and stuff, but they're not the most important. Usually the most important shit is the face, you know, like that's, you know, because you're dancing, like the sounds that you actually dance to are the groove of the kick, the snare, and the sub, right? Usually dictating to a great extent where the big motions in your dance groove are. And then there's the face. And the face is like, that's the most important fucking sound in the song because that's what the song is all about. That's usually the title element of the song. And for a mix to sound right, there always needs to be a central focus in the mix. There always needs to be one sound that is, whether it's a vocal or whether it's just the most important sound in the song, it needs to be as engaging as a vocal would be, right? So like, for example, if you listen to tracks by Tipper, right? Tipper doesn't use a lot of vocals in his tracks, but his main synth sound, whatever his main synth sound is at any point, there's enough detail and kind of cool shit happening with that sound that you couldn't sing on top of that track, right? If you're listening to a track and it feels like a vocalist can sing on top of it, you don't have that sound, right? So that sound is the most important sound of the track. And a big mistake that a lot of people make when they're starting off is they never make one sound more important than the others. You know, they're trying to put all this detail into every fucking sound in the song. And then you end up with a whole bunch of really detailed background parts fighting with each other and nothing in the central focus spot. So there always needs to be that top level central focus sound. This exercise teaches you to start at the top and stay at the top.
Mm.
You make your top level sound, and then you make the dance groove, i.e. the beats, bass, etc. around that, and then everything else down from there. Okay? So
Wow.
you're staying at the top level when you're sequencing, and it makes the whole process way faster because you're not like, oh, okay, well, this synthesizer sound is cool. Maybe I could use it for an intro or something. I'm going to spend 5 weeks fucking detailing some LFO automation. You know, that's bullshit, man. That's not going to get tracks done. That's just, honestly, busy work procrastination. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're not procrastinating. Okay? So you
Okay.
gotta stay at the top level when you're sequencing. So this exercise teaches you to stay at the top level. Another thing this exercise teaches you is how to take one idea and turn it into a whole song. Okay? You only need one good idea to make a song. That's it. You only need one good idea, properly fleshed out, properly spread out, properly remixed into sections, right? So most people, when they're doing this composition style that I call the layer cake, which is to be avoided, which is basically where your composition is just full of all these layers, and each of the layers has no articulation. It's just in or it's out, right? That's it. And then the whole composition is just adding a loop, taking away a loop. How many loops are there at a time? The answer is as many as can possibly fucking fit at all times. There's no variation. There's no section where it goes down to one layer and then builds back up. It's just 7 to 10 layers all the time, the whole fucking song, and they're all playing on top of each other. Okay? And you can't get a mix like that loud. It's hard to dance to a mix like that. It's hard to know what you're supposed to be paying attention to at any given time. And it just fucking doesn't pop off. Okay. So when people are doing the layer cake, a lot of the time what happens is they're jamming in their super loop phase until they get a sound that's awesome. And then they go, great, I found a loop that's awesome. What do I add? And then they go and they get out another soft synth and they start making another loop to play at the same fucking time as the loop that they just made. That's the awesome. That's not what you should do. Okay.
Okay.
What you should do when you find something awesome, you should be like, great, this is the face. This is the most important thing. Fuck all the rest of it. Let's resequence starting from just the face. And then instead of having the face just be in or out looping, you want to make 4 different sections that are 4 totally different articulations of the face. So let's say your face is the It's a Me Mario sample. Section 1 would be It's a me, right? That would be section 1. Section 2 is me. It's a me. Section 3 would be it's a me. Section 4 would be Mario, etc. Right? Those are all very fucking different from each other. Right? Like it's still the same sample, but they're rhythmically rearranged. There's maybe some pitch bends and shit happening, and they're different enough that you can make 4 totally different sections out of the one idea. Right? So with this exercise, I often recommend people start just by remixing cool shit they like, or even shit that they don't like. You know, one thing you can do is if you go to a torrent site and you look up the word FLAC, FLAC, that's a lossless audio codec, which means it's good for sampling. And people put all kinds of stuff into FLACs. And normally people, if you're going to go through the trouble of making a lossless audio copy of something, usually that's because it's some kind of high fidelity audio that whoever chose to make this FLAC collection or whatever has decided that that's something that is worth encoding in the highest possible quality. So a lot of the time it's like, you know, Billboard top 10 hits. Like I had this collection of all the Billboard top 10 hits going back to the 70s in like lossless audio quality. And when I have people come over and do this exercise, I'm like, great, pick a year, pick a track, go. And they're like, oh, but I don't like this track. And I was like, no, pick one you don't like. It doesn't fucking matter. You're going to chop it up and make it all crazy. And then I did this like Spice Girls remix while I was teaching someone, and it was fire. It was like super sick, like Spice Girls. Sounds like fucking like Onra or like Jay Dilla or something. It's all cut up. You could never tell it was the Spice Girls, and it's dope, you know? So a lot of the time, like, because a big problem for people is that they're trying to learn at the same time as they're trying to make shit for release. Those are two very different worlds, you know? Like, when you're trying to learn, you shouldn't be putting that kind of pressure on yourself. You know, you're learning the process. You're learning how it all fits together. You're learning the process. So it's better to make like, you know, like I have genres of music that I don't make, like they wouldn't fit into my Ill Gates brand. But sometimes I'm like, yo, you know, like I want to make like a stupid fucking track that's like making fun of house music because I hate house music. And I'll like make a house track because I don't like house music for fun. And then it's like, then you can focus on like, you know, what are the nuts and bolts of riff making? What are the fucking, you know, how is the process working? And you're not like, your ego is not all fragile and you're not all like, oh, what are people going to think when they hear my house track? Because it doesn't fucking matter, you know? Or like, you know, remixing comedy tracks. Like I did this remix of the I'm on a boat track fucking because I was playing at a boat party. And it was one of the most fun studio sessions I've ever had. Because I was like, I'm playing on a boat. I'll fucking make the on a boat track and play it on a boat when I play this party, and it'll be fun. And it was like, track came out like that. You know, it's like easy. Right? So, you know, maybe don't start with the N64 ones. You know, like but just get used to that process. Get used to the process of taking one idea that's good enough to be the title concept of a track, breaking it out into 4 sections, and then making those into full-fledged sections and then putting them together. Right. And if you do that exercise, like it's hard to find the time to make a whole fucking song every day, but you can do one of these timers every day. Like you have an hour every day, you can make it happen. You know, it's just like going to the gym or whatever. Like you can make it happen. It's a bite-sized achievable thing that over time you're going to be just like building your reps of getting the workflow finished. Cause like let's say you get perfect at starting tracks, but you never finish them. Doesn't matter. No, you're not actually a good producer if you're only good at starting tracks. The only thing that makes you good at being a producer is being good at finishing tracks. And the only way to get good at finishing tracks is to finish lots of tracks. So you have to get to the finish line of the workflow as many times as possible. And if that means making some comedy music, or if that means like making some genre of music that you don't care about, or if that means making a bunch of tracks that you're not trying to be good, you know, you're just trying to finish the workflow a bunch of times so that you can learn. You know? Like I have thousands of tracks that I would never show anybody. You know, and if you're making music that you're just not showing anybody, where the whole point is to just like experiment and to refine your workflow and to get better, then you will get better really quick. But if you're all like, fuck, I don't know, what are people gonna think? Is this the best I can do? Blah blah blah. Like that shit, like. Because I mean, there's certain tracks that I do that come out fast and are great, and then like this track that I'm currently working on with my friend Ian, like we're going for a more kind of commercial sound with this one, and you know we recorded all our own vocals, all our own guitars, all our own fucking everything, and it's like, you know, we're probably like 100 hours deep on this fucking thing, man. Like and I mean it keeps getting better every session, so you know I'm not like bummed at the end of the sessions, and I'm not like and we're never stuck. You know, like each session we make major improvements, but we've been doing like these, like, I mean, we just did like a 14-hour session yesterday, you know, like, and we're doing them fucking like, I don't know. It's probably getting close to 100 hours on this fucking track, but it's one of the best tracks I've written. And, you know, I think like, you know, I think we have a pretty good chance of, you know, doing something big with it, you know? So it's, you know, it's worth it. But like, that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing, you know? And like when you're working on a project like that where it's for release, you're not trying to do any new shit that you've never done before, right? You're trying to stick with your tried and true shit that you know you can nail and do that. So you're not actually trying to learn that. I mean, you learn because you're always like learning, So you learn when you're doing one of these real long haul, like hardcore motherfuckers. You'll learn stuff, but you're not trying to experiment that much. You know, you're
Mm-hmm.
not trying to do shit that you don't know how to do really well. You're trying to stick to what you know is going to work, and just fucking, this is like, it's not practice time, it's game time. You don't experiment during the fucking final. Like you do all your
Yeah.
experimenting in your practice, and then when it's the final, you're like sticking to what you know. You know, so doing these timer exercises, I mean, often you get lucky and you make shit that you think is great. That often
Yeah.
happens. But separating learning time from like doing stuff for release is a really fucking good idea. It helps you to get out of your head. So I mean, to me, it sounds like your problem is just, so like almost every other producer, you're all up in your head. It means a lot to you. You don't want to fuck it up,
Yeah.
but you're still learning, and you're frustrated with yourself because you're not making perfect things while you're learning, and then that's stopping you from fucking, doing it every day and feeling good about it.
Yeah.
It's every fucking producer's problem. There's nothing unique about that. Okay? So don't worry about it. There's ways
Yeah.
to get through it, and
Yeah.
this exercise will help. Get a
Okay.
new studio template, get all those new Moog patches I made for all of you. You'll have
Mm-hmm.
great sounds. You'll have a palette. Like, the whole point of the palette is to be everything except for the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just take one idea at a time, put the idea into the system, run the workflow, figure out what you've learned, do it again. And you just like, the palette is everything except for the idea. Remember that. You're not trying to like use the palette to like jam and fucking come up with an idea. I mean, you can.
Mm-hmm.
For this exercise, you start with an idea that's going to be fucking good enough to be the main thing, the face of the track.
Okay. Do you recommend I use, because I saw in your video, use like a push or like an OP1 or something like that to
No,
make
no, I
it?
don't use OP1 as its whole self-contained ecosystem. It's like its own DAW.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, push is great. I love push, but you don't need a push.
Okay.
I love push though. It's fucking great. But
Okay.
you don't need any of this shit. Honestly, like, I got my first record deal, consumer grade, 486 megahertz PC computer, no MIDI controller, fucking shitty garage sale speakers. That was it. That was the extent of my kit list. Oh yeah, and a fucking turntable and that I was sampling into the built-in sound card. I wasn't even using a sound card. I didn't know to use a real sound card. And I got a record deal. Started putting out records. I was friends with a guy who was homeless. He was homeless. He didn't own a computer. He didn't even own a pair of headphones. He had a stack of burned CD-ROMs with cracked software and samples on them. And he would couch surf at people's places, set up his cracked software on their consumer grade computers, use whatever headphones that they had lying around the house. And he was on a fucking record with Aphex Twin. Okay? You don't need anything. You just need to fucking learn the workflow and repeat. That's it.
Jeez, man.
So, like, when you watch all this shit on YouTube, it's like,
Fucks with you.
yeah, it's like, it's cool that people know all these fucking tricks and stuff, but you don't have to know all that shit, man. You just have to know how to make it dope, like how to make the parts fit together.
Mm.
And all the music you love was made on way worse equipment than you have. Like, their computer, it's like fucking. You think Wu-Tang Clan was using a fucking? No, man, they're using an MPC. Old dirty bastards stole the shit during a blackout. They
Oh
didn't even
my
have an
god,
extended
man.
fucking sound card or anything, and they fucking changed the world with that shit.
Yeah, that's eye opening, man.
So
Fuck.
you don't need it. You don't need any of that shit, man. Don't do that to yourself and fucking get into this big dick measuring contest with all your favorite musicians. Like, don't do that. Just fucking. The only person you're in competition with is that lazy motherfucker inside of you who's like, yo, let's just chill and watch fucking Netflix and smoke weed and fucking. I don't know. This all seems hard. I don't want to try.
Mm.
That's the person you're in competition with, not anybody else. And you just got to outwit that fucking resistance. Have you read that book, The War of Art?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really fucking good book, man. That really kind of cuts to the core of what it's about.
It's true. But just the resistance of like, you're never really going to be in the mood fully to.
Yeah. And I mean, you just got to build a habit of being in the studio and fucking doing your workflow.
Yeah.
And if that means that you got to make a bunch of shit that's like not for release, so you can get used to finishing tracks, you can get used to doing mix downs, you can get used to writing riffs.
Yeah.
Composition, man, is the most important fucking part. Like composition, like just making the parts really fit together, making them all dance together. You know,
You think that,
I had another composition video that I'll recommend to you.
sure.
I was on Reddit the other day, and this guy from he's like the guitarist from Papadozio. It's like they're like this big jam band, but he made this tutorial that's honestly like one of the best fucking tutorials I've seen. And it's like super kind of basic composition tutorial, but actually I hear this article on the Drop is really good. And yeah, this tutorial. Yeah, so
today is something that's even more powerful than that.
Okay, so here's oh wait, wrong window. Oh, I got so many windows open. Okay, so watch this tutorial. That one is really fucking great. And then here's a good article on making drops that I think is worth reading. So I'll paste those into the chat for you. But yeah, check those out. Those really help. But so much of making a drop sound loud is about composition. You know, like people think getting loud mixes is all about like fucking what plugins you're using and compressing shit. It's not. It's about composition.
Do you think me wanting to do YouTube is just like holding me back?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like an essential part of your vision, and it seems like these like documenting your process or whatever, like you can just make music videos for your video game tracks when you're done, and because you can just cut up video in Ableton. Fun fact.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you can just load video into Ableton. You can do stop motion with JPEGs and shit, like whatever. A lot of my VJ videos, I literally just put video into Ableton, warped it, cut it so that shit happens where all the shit happens in the track. Boom, music video.
What?
Yeah.
So
it takes a little bit of finagling to get.
Yeah, but I didn't even know you could do that.
Because like when you're exporting, you got to kind of like, there's all these codec settings, but I just export it with a maximum resolution. And then I'd use like Adobe Creative Cloud. There's this Adobe Media Encoder that you can use, but you can upload to YouTube in maximum resolution and let YouTube do the encoding. It just takes a while because you're uploading like a fucking.
I have the Creative Cloud suite. So you said Adobe Media Encoder.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Adobe Media Encoder, and then you can specify what codecs or whatever. But in Ableton, you just want to render maximum resolution, maximum fucking everything. It renders faster too. It just makes huge files. Because for Ableton to run, and it's like this with any video software. For let's say you want to encode to MP4, right? And you're doing it. What your video software will do is it'll render the full fucking resolution, and then it'll re-encode and give you the resolution you want, and then delete the big file. Right? So it takes longer to render it at a lower resolution, counterintuitively enough. So if you just render at max res and then put up the max res, and if it's like 100 gigs or something, then yeah, use Adobe Media Encoder.
But like you can make music videos of the gameplay.
Yeah, you just put a bunch of gameplay clips into Ableton, chop them up, fucking boom, Bob's your uncle.
This is powerful stuff, man.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing is you just not like just give yourself permission to be a human, man. Like no one's fucking born knowing everything. Like, and the people that are judging you on whether you fucking know some fucking thing about production, those people are fucking losers with no friends who are just like jawing off on the internet. Like nobody cool cares about that shit. If you're gonna judge someone, judge them like, are they kind? Are they thoughtful? Are they able to put others before themselves like a fucking responsible adult? Like I'll judge someone on that shit. Like if someone's an asshole, fuck them. But they're not like, I don't judge people on whether they're like born knowing everything about Ableton. Like you can make mistakes. That's fine. That's like part of learning. That's like, if you don't give yourself permission to make mistakes, you're not giving yourself permission to learn. And that's fucked up. That's like, you're not gonna get anywhere like that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? You got about 10 minutes. So if you have any other stuff you want to ask me about, this is your chance.
Time. Why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? Well, I used to be a real fucking misanthrope, like big time. You know, I grew up in a kind of a small-minded place, you know, and I was always a bit of a freak. So I was just so fucking just like put out by how fucking dumb everybody was and how fucking like, like people were, in my opinion at that time, people were selfish assholes as individuals, and we were selfish assholes as a species, killing each other with war and greed and like destroying the fucking planet and all this shit. And I was like, man, humans are a fucking cancer on the earth. You know, like if you look at it from the macro fucking level, we're destroying all life on this planet. Like consciousness is a fucking curse, and we're destroying ourselves and everything around us. We like to think that consciousness is a gift, but it's a fucking curse. And it's the nature of intelligent life to destroy itself, and the earth is better off without human beings. I thought this, and I believed this.
Wow.
And then I started going to electronic music events and fucking taking lots of acid and like just having my mind blown and meeting cool people, and finding out that there are people who are like using, like I'd always read a lot, and I was like, oh yeah, like authors and creative people are cool, but most people are assholes. But it was really like the community of electronic music that helped to kind of open my mind and open my heart and make me like a positive person instead of a negative person, and because like when you're a negative person, there's like a kind of like self-perpetuating cycle of negativity where you in a way become like psychologically addicted to your own negativity, because so I would like get in people's faces and push their buttons and shit, and like just like really try and go out there and show people that they're fucking dumb, and like I would get out there and like 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 I had this shirt that just said jerk on it. And like people would fucking be like, "Are you a fucking jerk?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, dude, fuck you, faggot." I'll be like, "Fuck you," and like I'll be like, "Yeah, these people are fucking assholes. I proved myself right." And like I was all fucked up like that. Like I was a weird teenager,
Yeah.
So I'd always have like weird hair and be pulling like fucking pranks and stuff, and just fuck with people. Like that was one of the only things that really gave me joy, was getting in people's faces and fucking with them. It's not healthy at all.
Yeah.
And music really just put an end to that, and helped me to become like a productive member of society. And it really like healed me at like a kind of like spiritual level, so I was always like, wow, I should really be involved with this, because like there was a real fucking darkness inside of me that it helped,
Mm-hmm.
So I was always like, okay, well, I definitely want to be a part of the force that helps to heal other people from that. And that's why like a lot of my music has like a bit of fucking dark vibe, but I always like to like have the end emotion that you come out with be kind of like, an uplifting sort of thing. But, I definitely like going into the fucking gunge, and the darkness and the fucking weirdness and shit to like reach those people who are going through it like I was, and like there's a lot of people that have mental health issues out there, and I really think that like music and just the community that you connect with through music is like, it's a pretty viable treatment, it really is. So, so I was just approached it like that. And then, that's why teaching is such a natural part of it, it's like, it really just helps, just trying to fucking help.
What was your unrealistic dreams?
I never thought it'd be my job, man. I never thought that, and like, and even just like, you know, I was starting out, like, I was making, like, weird-ass fucking breakbeat bass music in the 90s when nobody listened to that shit. Like, glitch hop wasn't a thing. Fucking, you know, dubstep wasn't a thing. Bass music wasn't a thing. Like, well, I mean, drum and bass was, but it was either, like, trance or drum and bass. That was all anybody listened to in the 90s. So I was like, people were like, "What the fuck are you doing? That's weird," you know? And they,
Yeah.
like, weren't into it, you know? So you know, now things have fucking changed. And but I mean, I always considered my music very fringe, right? So I was never like, oh, I'm gonna put on a concert. You know, I was always like, okay, I'm gonna be DJing in some fucking sketchy warehouse for the rest of my life. You know, I never thought, you know, and now like I play like concert venues and shit all the time. And I have to think like, okay, how can I make my music translate to a fucking stage show? You know, so that's why I got into like video and finger drumming and all this stuff is like, you know, it's got to be a show. If you're if you're at a concert theater and it's just like you and some fucking CDJs, it's kind of not that exciting. You know, you got to have some visuals and some kind of a stage show if you're going to charge, you know, 30, $50 for a ticket and like sell at a concert venue. It's got to be a spectacle of some kind, you know? So I wasn't really thinking about that. I wasn't really thinking about live performance, you know, and like finger drumming and everything. And like I had an MPC. I could have started finger drumming when I was a fucking teenager, but I was never like, oh, that's part of putting on a show. I was always like, no, that's what you do in the studio when you're making the beats. So I wasn't practicing. And like if I had been like, okay, you know, I'm gonna be playing my MPC on stage, I would have been practicing my finger drumming since I was fucking like 15 when I first got my MPC, and not starting in like 2013. You know, because I was like 2013, I was like, I don't play any instruments. I need to learn some kind of an instrument. And then and only then did I start finger drumming.
Hmm.
You know, and it's like I could have been the whole time. Would have made my life a whole lot easier. You know, so there's a lot of these things that it's just like, you know, you notice in retrospect, like, oh yeah, I was holding myself back with these limiting beliefs. But you know, it's like, yeah, because I mean, I was living in a small, well, not, it's not a small town, but kind of a small-minded town, and like all the musicians that I was talking to who like stayed in this town was no music industry. They were all like, look, you know, music's a hobby. Like I've been doing it my whole life because I love it, but it's a hobby. You know, you need a day job or a rich girlfriend. You know, they're like, otherwise you're not going to make any fucking money. And the better your music is, the less people like it. You know, and that was like, I grew up with those people telling me, those like adults telling me that when I was a kid. So I was like, oh, okay, I got to think of something else for my job, and the music will be a hobby and shit. And like, I held myself back for years with that shit. You know, like I could have been way further in my career if I didn't have these beliefs.
All right, let's just have one last question.
Yeah, sure.
So, like, if you had like one thing to just tell people, like maybe write on your tombstone, what would it be?
I mean, if we're talking tombstone, you know, I would probably just say like, you know, love is forever. Everything else fades away. You know, because you can't take any of this shit. Can't take any of this shit with you. You know, and it's like you either you know, you have a choice every day between love and fear. And that's the only thing that fucking matters. You know, whether you're choosing love or choosing fear. So I don't know. I guess choose love.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, word. All right, cool. Anything else?
No, that's it, man. You've done more than enough for me. I really appreciate it.
All right, word. Well, hey, lots of love. Way to ask good questions too, by the way. This is you know, normally I'm like, oh, hey, you're fucking up with your EQ here.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to pick your brain.
Good questions, man. It's a good session.
Thanks, man.
All right, lots of love, Anthony. Talk to you soon.
All right, man.
Peace.
Take care, man.